Entrepreneurship is a mindset, and on the Entrepreneur's Blueprint, we'll be dissecting this mindset, the successes, the struggles, and even the failures of entrepreneurs to help with your own entrepreneurial journey. I'm your host, Justin Castelli, and I'm the founder of RLS Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor in Fishers, Indiana. In some of these episodes, we'll cover various financial planning, investment, and business planning topics. This information should be considered educational and not considered advice or a recommendation. You should consult your financial advisor or tax professional regarding your personal situation. And now that that's out of the way, let's get to the latest episode of the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. So at All Boys Clothing Store, what was the reception from people when you first told them you're going to start a store just for boys?
From the showrooms that I reached out to. So showrooms are where they're basically representatives representing multiple brands. So when I contacted the showrooms to find out about the brands, to potentially carry these brands, they all said all boys clothing store will not work. Girls is a much bigger market. Moms shop for girls a lot more than they do boys. It's not a good idea. I don't think you should look into doing this. So the reception was, don't do it. You don't see them out there because they fail and they don't work, and moms are not going to shop that. So that was the initial reception.
And what was your reception to their reception?
I think at first it placed a seed of doubt of, okay, well, these people, they're experts in this field, and maybe I'm the only person that thinks that boys fashion really needs to have a presence in my local market. So I think initially it placed kind of that seed of doubt in my mind. But then talking to you and your optimism of, no, I think they're wrong and I think you're onto something, then it switched me back to, I want to prove them wrong. I want to go in and show them that I think in today's market that moms really do want to shop for their boys, and moms want to be excited about boys' clothes. So
I knew because you were passionate about it and that you really loved buying clothes for Roman and Leo, that you were going to show them wrong. Mm-hmm. So I knew their doubt was going to be you one day coming back being able to say, I told you so. But let's step back now and tell everybody how Roman and Leo, the clothing store, came to be. So we know what the reception was, but how did you get to this idea of starting your own store? Okay. And maybe go back to even to the point of how are you even able to fund it to get started?
So how far back should I go?
This is your show.
Okay, so this is kind of the story that I always tell people, that when you and I were pregnant, we went to our ultrasound, found out that our first child was going to be a boy at 21 weeks, and we said, let's go buy our first little boy outfit. So that same day, we went to the mall. And when we went into a children's clothing store, we both thought, this is all that there is for boys. There's 60 racks in this store and only 2 are for boys. And the styles just weren't styles that you or I liked. I mean, I think a lot of your followers probably know that you like fashion and you're into clothes, and ducks and trucks and teddy bears, putting those things on boys' clothing wasn't something that you or I were excited about.
No offense to those that like that.
Correct. But it just wasn't our taste. So going home and going online and searching for cool clothes for boys, I did find that there were options out there. Now, there wasn't anything local. We went to a couple local boutiques over the months while I was pregnant, and same thing. It was just very girl-dominated, and the boys' clothing that we were finding was very traditional. And again, there definitely is a market for that, but it just wasn't to our taste. So going online, finding cool styles. Roman's born. He's 2 years old, and the way that I was dressing him was receiving a lot of feedback from people I didn't know that we would see at grocery stores, from his preschool, from my friends. Everywhere we went, people would say, oh my gosh, Roman dresses so cool. He's always like the cutest little kid. Where are you finding his clothes? And when I would tell people I'm kind of obsessed with looking for cool clothes for boys, I spend my evenings on the computer looking online, trying to find cool stuff. People, I mean, they couldn't believe that I was spending that amount of time to do that. I felt like I was an expert too. I mean, friends would comment on Facebook, where are cool places to shop for boys? And I was always feeding people, hey, look at this website, look at this brand. This is how this fits. You might want to consider this. I was telling people, I mean, Roman's almost 9, but 9 years ago, skinny jeans for boys, you couldn't find anywhere. I was telling them, go in the girls section to buy skinny jeans for boys to get this look. So I kind of felt like people were coming to me to find out, where are you going to find cool clothes for boys? So at any rate, since I went back 9 years, spring forward to when Leo was a baby, I became even more obsessed because now I had 2 that I was dressing. And really just seeing that I still was getting a lot of feedback about it, I thought, is there a market in this area for an all-boys clothing store? And so I decided to contact the showrooms of the brands that I really liked. I knew there was about 8 or 9 brands that I loved, that my kids were wearing, that I really thought would do well and were unique enough and different that I could put them into a store, whether I started online or I decided to do something different, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But I just felt at that point, let me look into this and see if this is something that makes sense and something that we felt comfortable doing. So that's kind of how it started, was really just, I loved doing it. It was something I was passionate about, and seeing kind of a gap or a hole in the market in my area. That's why I decided to just look into it.
Where did you find these brands? So these brands were in any local stores. Where were you finding them? When you were on the internet, where were you finding them?
Just online. I mean, I was doing like the tail searches, cool clothes for boys, trendy styles for toddler boys, those types of things. And I was finding cool brands. And when I would find a cool brand that I liked, then I would find other boutiques that were online only that had that brand. And then I would find other brands, but they had a lot of the girl styles. They were still more girl dominant, and it was harder to find, one brand, they would have 4 styles, where maybe that brand actually carried 60 different styles. This one store only had 4 of them. So it was still a very small kind of bit of what really those brands had to offer. So it was all online.
So it sounds like the idea just kind of came out of nowhere, which I think is common for a lot of good businesses.
Right.
It was something that you enjoyed, got good feedback, identified maybe there's a market for this.
Right.
Let me look into it.
Right.
So let's get to opening the store. So you've got the idea, you figured out how to do wholesale buying, you got all that stuff set up, you set up your LLC, did everything properly. And one of the things that I know from being an insider is these brands would not sell to you unless you either had a website for 6 months,
right,
or a physical location. So it's
right,
kind of like chicken or the egg. Like,
right,
okay, how do I open up a physical location without inventory? How do I have 6 months of a website without inventory?
Right.
So how did you get started? And I know this is not a positive experience, and you like to be positive and you worry about what people think, but the objective for this podcast is to be real.
Right.
And no entrepreneur's story doesn't have hurdles and obstacles, because those obstacles sometimes will prevent people from succeeding because they give up.
Right. They don't.
So I want the good and the bad. So share the beginning and the bad, and obviously don't divulge names or anything like that.
I won't.
The guilty parties out there, if they listen, will know who they are. But kind of tell that story.
So when I was talking to all of the brands, I was kind of getting a little deflated with several of them saying, well, we feel that to protect our brand, we only want stores that have a brick and mortar or that have an established online presence. So being brand new, I didn't have either of those. So I just started to talk to people around town saying that, hey, different moms at preschool, and this is something that I'm thinking of doing. What do you guys think of this? Because I just wanted to outweigh kind of my risks of, do I open up a brick and mortar store? Is there a market for this? Do I get into a several year lease not knowing really what the demand is? So through all of this, I was actually talking to a mom from Roman's preschool, and she said, hey, there's another mom at our preschool who is opening a children's boutique, and I think it's all girls. You should reach out to her. And we were an acquaintance. So she was so gracious, and she said, hey, I don't have any boys lined up, any boys' clothes. Let's try it out. Put your stuff in my store for a couple months, and let's just see how it does. And I felt so lucky that she was in a position to open up the doors to her business, to allow me to go into her business.
Which sounds like it would have been an obvious partnership.
Right.
Girls, boys, cross-selling amongst our
right.
businesses.
Yep,
Great
absolutely.
partnership.
And so my items went into her store in the spring. So it was March. I opened together. I had my items go into her store the same week that I opened my website. Had been building social media buzz about it to get people excited to go to this store to find all of these cool brands for boys. And about and I should say, I was blown away by the initial reception locally. So many of my friends were spreading the word. Social media was awesome and has always been such a huge driver for my business, that my very first day of opening the doors at this other location, of having my items in this store, I sold about 10% of all of the product that I had purchased. So I wasn't anticipating that. You never know. You think, well, I think this is a good idea and this is something that I love, but you don't really know. So I had my stuff in that store. About 3 weeks into that, I received an email from one of the brands that I carry, or that I was carrying, that said that the owner of the store that my items were in was wanting to order all of the styles that I had in her store for her to carry, which initially I was very confused by. And then throughout the course of 2 days, I had 3 more brands contact me and basically sending me the email that the owner of the other store had sent, saying that she was ordering for me, that she was reordering these styles. And what I came to learn was she saw, and in hindsight, I get it. Maybe my styles were outselling hers in her own store. Like, that has to be a huge blow and not feel good for your business. But at the same time, I think she saw an opportunity of my items were doing really well, that she wanted to basically take my idea and carry those items in her store. So it was a huge stab in the back. And I sobbed my eyes out and I was completely devastated by it, because I thought all this hard work and everything that I've done to build up to this point is now going to come crashing down, and I'm just going to have to, concede to this person, and she's going to take over, and all of my hard work is going to be for nothing, was my initial reaction. And
which luckily you have a partner at home that is
who's very optimistic and positive.
Optimistic, and realizes that deep down, I believe this, that good always prevails.
All right.
So while maybe that was a momentary bump along the way, that because you were doing things the right way for the right reasons, you were going to succeed. And I remember that day, and I was like, I'll be damned if this is going to happen. I left work early. I came up to the store, and we took everything out of the store. I just said, we're going to go online. We'll find somewhere else for you to go, but you can't stay there anymore.
Right.
So that was, for me as an outsider, I knew you were going to be successful because of your work ethic. And again, I have inside information on who you are and kind of how you do things. But from a conceptual standpoint, box number one that this was going to be successful was the brands telling you it's not going to succeed. I don't have any concrete example, but I know there are extremely successful businesses, like multi-billion-dollar businesses, that the founders were told, you're crazy, it's never going to work. Now, I didn't expect this to go billions, but I knew that was the one thing. If people were telling you it wasn't going to work, yet we were seeing what you were seeing, that was a good sign. The fact that a few weeks into your business, you're already getting a copycat and somebody trying to ride your coattails and steal your business was another sign that you were doing something right. So I knew that it was going to be successful, and 5 years later, you're still selling, you're still growing, you just moved locations. I would say it's a very successful business. As I teased on Twitter, this whole thing started with a $10,000 investment, and within 4 years, you had done $1 million in sales. Now, don't get too excited. We didn't make $1 million, but $1 million in sales amongst boys' clothing, which is a very finite niche. Because it's not just boys. So I don't know. Let's call that half the population is boys.
Right.
But then you've got to get the boy parents that actually care about what their boys look like, which narrows the niche down even more.
Right.
So I think that's extremely successful. But I wanted that story to be shared just because you could have given up. You very easy.
And I'd like to add a point to that, because it's something that I always tell people, and it's not to throw out there any woe is me by any means, but the year that I decided this is something that I wanted to do, What are you laughing
I forgot
about
this.
I had been diagnosed with a brain tumor. And at the end of the year, before this happened, this was in December and everything else happened in the spring. But I feel like that gave me the courage of saying, and you saying, life is too short. This is something that I want you to do. And I remember us having that conversation when I was crying and saying, you know, this person wants to steal my business idea. And you said, you had brain surgery. Like, you can get through this. You can do this. Life is too short. I want you to do this. And we're going to make this happen for our family and for you and for your passion and everything that you've gone through. So I feel like, you know, not that you have to go through something like that, but there are instances in your life and situations that you're put into that kind of really make you dig a little deeper and realize, like, hey, I have been through something, and this isn't, and what I'm going through now isn't the worst thing. I've been through worse things. I can pull myself up and I can push through and get through this because of other things that I've been through. So I wanted to kind of throw that out there too for other people who have been through hardships, that just makes you stronger and gives you that courage to be brave and do something that you really want to do.
I don't even know how I forgot about the brain tumor in the whole midst of this. So, store, you leave, you go online. I'll fast forward real quick. We find a good you find a good location. You were persistent.
All right. I called on every day for 2 weeks trying to get this spot that was empty.
And then finally, you got
hired a
broker involved.
Mm-hmm.
And next day, you're seeing it and you're in there. So you get your location, right. Move in, all that excitement.
Right.
Let's talk about real quick, like how you grew the business. So giving people an idea. And I think that I want to direct it towards, you mentioned social media was very good to you. Obviously, word of mouth. You had a good location in town, but I personally believe that it was the social media strategy that you did, whether you knew it was a strategy or not. But what was your approach to social media, and what do you think helped you get so successful and grow the number of followers that you have?
Right. So I like to say, I mean, I feel like Instagram was still pretty new when in terms of businesses using Instagram, when I first started doing this. And we have a family photographer that we've loved, that she's taken all 3 of our kids, you know, newborn, 6 month, 1 year. She does annual photos for our family every single year. And when I told her I was doing this, getting ready to start this boutique, she's like, let's do a styled photo shoot. And I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted to do with you, because her images and just the look of her photos, especially of kids, because she's done so many families, I wanted to have a look for my brand, and she was the perfect photographer for that. So I felt like with social media, having these styled photo shoots of showing kids in the clothes and showing that, hey, it's not stuffy, you know, suits for little boys. This is everyday, cool, comfortable, soft, movable. These kids can do their little, you know, high kicks and jumps and ride their bike and do all these things in these clothes. And we wanted to be able to show that. So working with a photographer, and again, this was 5 years ago. You see this now with everyone, but you didn't see this a lot of businesses using social media, creating a brand by working with a photographer to do styled photo shoots for kids' clothing. You were seeing on websites, you know, the stock photos of the item on a white background. We also did a lot of what we call flat lays, which you see this a lot now as well. And not that I created this, but you just didn't see a lot of this with kids' stores, of putting outfits together and showing parents how to style pieces together and how fun it can be for moms, you know, our hashtag boy mom.
And dads. It's
true. To be able to style and be excited about boys' clothes. Because, and I hear this a lot of grandmas or friends or even moms come in and say when they found out that they were having a boy, they were slightly bummed about the idea of dressing a boy. In your mind, I think as a female, a large percentage think if I have a girl, it'll be so fun to dress her up in my little mini and do all the bows and ruffles and all of the things that girls potentially can wear. And when they find out it's a boy, that all kind of, you know, falls negative. So I wanted to be able to have a place that moms, when they found out they were having little boys, would still be really, really excited about dressing them, because we have such cool, unique styles and accessories and things to make moms excited again. So I wanted to be able to portray that through our social media as well. And I found early on that a lot of moms were on social media, and every single order that we had and every single purchase that someone made in our store, we would put into their bags a little card that had our Instagram and had our hashtag, and just ask them to tag us so that we could share their pictures. Because as parents, we think it's kind of cool to have our kids be featured on a business page or on a boutique's page, because our kids are absolutely adorable and they look so cute. And I felt like that was authentic, because parents were putting their children into these clothes and sharing that with us, that we could then turn around and share it with our customers and shoppers as well. So that was something that we did early on that I think helped spread the word about our business, because parents were seeing these other cute kids wearing these clothes on social media and thinking, well, where did they get that? Because that was back before, you could click on the item and it would take you out to the website. It wasn't as sophisticated. Social media wasn't as what it is now. So just trying to figure out ways to use it to be able to help promote our brands, but we wanted to do it authentically. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you were early on Instagram. This was before the influencer phase.
Right.
And I'm proud to say that while we have friends and their kids in the photo shoots consistently, you have not done much in the way of influencers to grow your brand, which I like. Because the influencer game, I understand why people do it, but I feel like you've mentioned authentic and genuine a couple times, and that's a big core belief of mine.
Right.
I feel like the influencer game isn't as authentic and as genuine as it may have started out. So,
Right.
All right, so start the business, move the business, you're growing the business, social media is a big part. Real quick, before we kind of move on to kind of your vision going forward.
Okay.
I should have had you do this earlier, but real quick, give the store Roman and Leo a plug. Describe the style. I should have done this from the beginning.
Okay.
But describe your style. So we mentioned cool and trendy, how would you describe the brands? Yeah.
So Roman and Leo we say it's an all boys apparel and accessories boutique. So what I like to offer, and I always say, when I shop for the store, I'm shopping for my own kids. If it's not something that my kids would wear, it's not something I'm going to put into the store. So it needs to be comfortable, and it needs to be soft, and it needs to have a really nice fit. But in addition to that, I like more adult styles on kids. So like we said earlier, that isn't everyone's taste, but for us, I wanted things that were more modern and trendy. So you're going to see more blacks and grays, tri-blends, just a lot more stuff like what you and I would wear in our style and our fashion on our kids. Raw hems on shorts, cut off denim shorts. You'll never see chino khaki cargo pants. Like, that's just more of a traditional style. We also like a lot of graphic tees, because our kids live in t-shirts. And when it's a funny t-shirt, or if it's a t-shirt that has Tupac's face on it, or I love hip hop, those types of shirts we like. That's something that the kids, especially at the young age that I'm selling, it's baby up to size 6. They don't care what's on their shirt. They don't know what's on their shirt. But for us, it's fun to see, a Tom Petty quote about Indiana, because we're in Indiana. So I like a lot of fun graphics. And again, just going back to adult styles, Henleys, cool hoodies, jogger pants. And again, it's also everyday apparel. So it's stuff that our kids wear to school, that they'll wear out to eat. A lot of times they're going to play in it too. So it's everyday apparel that's cool, trendy, modern. If that kind of helps.
Yep.
Kind of set the scene for what it is that the store offers.
So the final thing on your business that I want other entrepreneurs and business owners to really take away, and it's one of the things I thought has made your success so strong, is the customer experience. So I feel like in retail so much, because that's what the business you're in, customer service is lacking, but that's not the case with yours. So I want to highlight a couple of things. It's first, you're not in the store as much as you used to be because of Silas. One day that'll get back. But you mentioned that you became an expert. And I think part of the customer experience that is so good at your store is knowing everything about the clothes, knowing the fit. Oh, you should size up in this one. You should size down. Like, you know everything about these clothes, and you've kind of educated your employees on that as well. The other customer experience, I think, is the bigger one, is the delivery of your online packaging.
Okay.
And you're not going to bring this up, but if you place an order today online Angela will be up until 2 a.m. in our living room, wrapping your shirt or your clothes up nicely so that you can wear them out of the envelope and put them on in tissue paper, tied with a sticker. Like the delivery of you getting it in the mail is almost as if you were in the store getting it. And I think that's a little thing that people really appreciate, and they come back to it. And on top of that, if there's a mistake, you own up to it, you fix it real quick. Like the response time is real quick, and that doesn't take much. It takes a lot of effort, but it doesn't take much to do that. And I think that makes a big difference in the shopper's experience, which is why you have a high level of return shoppers. You've got good product, but the customer service is real good as well. Because the reality of it is, as much as you hate it, with the exception of your custom stuff you've done, you don't own these brands. You're very protective of them, and you hate seeing other people 3 hours away carry the same stuff. That bothers you. But at the end of the day, you don't own these brands.
Right.
You could Google search and find them, yet people continue to come back, and that's solely because of the customer experience.
Well, and I would like to add, just because prior to starting this, and for myself, we shop a lot online. And most of the time when we get our packages, they're in the manufacturing plastic, they're a wrinkled mess, and there's nothing special about it. And I think there are so many options out there for people to shop. I'm grateful and thankful that they chose my store, so I want to deliver to them what looks like a gift. And the girls that work in my store, they know they get trained on how to wrap our online orders so they look like a beautiful gift. And they laugh at me because I tell them the tissue needs to be crisp. There needs to be a bow on top. It needs to have the sticker. They need to receive this, and it needs to look like a gift, because I'm so grateful and thankful that they chose our store. That's what they deserve. They deserve to receive their package folded beautifully. I mean, we have our t-shirt folder. We have our, little board to fold everything perfectly. Have it all stacked up in a nice, neat little pile and fold up the little gift. And it looks like a little gift when they receive it. So that is something that has always been very important to me. And the shipping time. If someone's working in our store that day, if an online order comes through before 5 p.m., it will ship out that day, because I want my customers to be excited that they get their notification that it already shipped the same day that they place the order. And there are times that we have a ton of online orders, and I end up having to stay up super late that night packaging all of those orders, but it's worth it to me, because it's a way of thanking my customers for shopping with me, because I love seeing that when I order things. I love seeing that my order has shipped out quickly, and if it comes wrapped beautifully and it has a thank you note and a little handwritten note on the invoice, to me that shows that someone actually does care and a real person did this. And I don't know, it's just fun and it's exciting to me. So that's why I chose to do that.
We're sitting at our kitchen table recording this, and the neighbor's dog is outside.
That's what I'm wondering. What is that out there? I see a tail.
All right, so I end every episode with 9 questions, but before we get to those, the last one, I mentioned it before, but I didn't get your answer because I took us a different direction.
I'm sorry.
No, that's my fault. Your vision. So you're about to be 5 years in. You didn't rename it Roman, Leo, and Silas. So poor Silas. I renamed my firm, though.
Do people listening know that Roman, Leo, and Silas are our children?
Yeah.
Maybe? Okay.
They should.
Okay.
So where do you see Roman and Leo, the boutique, going in the future? Are you kind of comfortable where it's at and you just want to maintain?
Well, we just moved locations. Our previous location we were in for almost exactly 5 years, and it's 400 square feet, so it's really small. But there is a lot of construction going on in our area. New ownership took over, so there's a lot of variables and unknowns to that building. And to be quite frank, the building had a lot of issues. So we moved. We more than doubled our space. It is a beautiful new space, and it's so exciting to have just everything fresh and new, and central air and central heat, because we didn't have that in our old space. So we're living the life of luxury in this new space. But my vision still remains the same, just to be a destination for moms, dads, aunts, uncles, grandparents to find cool and unique styles for little boys, to be excited about dressing little boys, and to just be a place where moms can shop for boys, because the pickings are slim when it comes to finding stuff, and to just have a store that's dedicated just to boys. You don't see that. We're the only brick and mortar all boys store in the entire Midwest. I've previously only heard of 2 other brick and mortar all boys stores. I could be wrong, but from the showrooms that I work with, I'm told I'm one of, or at least 3 years ago was one of 3. I don't know if the other 2 are still around. But I like being something different and unique, and that's kind of where my vision remains, is to maintain what we're already doing on a little bit bigger scale with having more space and being able to put more items out on the floor to be able to be available.
Okay, so we'll get to the 9 questions. Before we do, I just want to brag one more time. And, sometimes I think people think when you're going to start your own business, you have to have a huge business. Like the goal is to have the next Apple or Amazon or whatever it might be. But here I sit next to you. You have a successful business. You've started it with, like I said, a $10,000 investment. You had savings that you've been sitting on from your days of selling homes, no debt, and you've grown to where you are today, increasing sales. Like I said, over $1 million 4 years in, so you're well past $1 million of sales now,
right,
off of a $10,000 investment. You've been able to pay yourself along the way. You have employees. Like if you think about that, not everybody has $10,000
right,
saved,
right.
But if you have a vision, you have a business, $10,000 or even less to take a little bit longer to get going, it's doable.
Right.
And it's not doable for everybody. We were
right,
fortunate to be able to be in that position,
right,
but it doesn't take a lot. You don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars
or
to
take
start a
out
business.
huge loans.
Right.
Yeah. I think just knowing that I had kind of that nest egg to lean on and saying, hey, I'm going to test the market by going into another space and having the online presence. I learned super early in the game that everything was going to be okay, that there was a market for it. We had so much excitement around it, but I think you have to be smart. You have to, and I was talking to someone about this today. There's a lot of people who say, oh, I'm passionate about this and I'm creative. But you also have to be business minded. You have to learn how to run a lean business for all. And I didn't pay myself the first, I think it was almost 18 months. I didn't pay myself. Now I had money in the bank, but that was what I wanted to leave there for the comfort of knowing that I had that money there to purchase more inventory. But I knew that, having a business background with my education and the jobs that I had in the past, that I knew that I could make it work based on everything that I knew that I was going to do for the business and running that lean business. And you laugh at me because I have a spreadsheet with like 50 tabs, but that's how I like to keep track of everything. And I'm organized. And, I think that it's important to bring up, even if you are passionate about something, you still need to keep in mind that you need to have a little basic business knowledge as well to know how to run a business.
Okay, so to our 9 questions. These are
Okay.
the same questions everybody gets.
Okay.
I gave them to you in advance. You
Okay.
looked at them
Yep.
tonight.
Yep.
The first one, what's one thing you wish you knew when you were first getting started?
Look at my notes. One thing that I wish I knew, I didn't realize how much time would be spent on follow-up with my vendors.
If you are a small business in retail and a brand, do yourself a favor and have good customer service I talked about beforehand.
Right.
Like as a spouse, it is extremely frustrating for me to see the amount of time that you waste tracking brands down. You didn't send me this, but you charge me. Like it's ridiculous the amount of time that's wasted because other brands don't have their
I
stuff
just always
together.
say it's just a big time suck. And I feel like I'm initially patient with it, but it does get frustrating when every order I receive from certain brands, I'm receiving incorrect items, or they didn't send me my entire shipment when I had to pay for it in advance, or it's the wrong size, or it's a bait and switch. What they showed me at market is different than what they sent me.
And she will check everything.
And it's not even me anymore. My employees, they're awesome at it. They know which brands are typically going to have issues. They know what issues to look for. I have a great team of girls that work in my store, and they know that it is what it is. There's most of the shipments that we get, I would say 85% of our shipments are not going to be 100%. So that's just I didn't know that. That wasn't on my radar as something I would be spending so much time on.
Not to go too far, but I do think that attention to detail, the attention to detail when it comes to folding and the tissue paper, the attention to detail to making sure you get everything. Obviously, these brands are having other stores not check and they're
Right.
getting away with it, because if they had to
Well, I
consistently
don't want
do
my
that-
customers to receive an item that has a stain on it. So the girls are really, really thorough with inspecting everything when it comes in the door, because we don't want to put something out on the floor that we wouldn't want to receive ourselves. So that's important to us.
All right, second question. What's the
Okay.
best decision you've made regarding your business?
I just always think the fact, because I'm not a risk taker, and going back to having the brain tumor and having surgery and getting it removed, I'm just glad that I took the risk to do it, because you told me even before we had kids, I want you to own your own business. I think you should own your own business. And I never really knew what that was going to be. And I also never really thought I would actually take the leap of faith to do it. So I would say best decision was just taking that risk. And sometimes I even sit there and think, I can't believe that I did this. But taking the risk, that was the best decision.
What's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur and business owner?
I think everyone says this, the balance. I mean, you and I both being business owners, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock on a Thursday night, the night before our kids' last day of school, and we're working. And this is very typical of us to both be working in the evenings. Our kids go to bed and then we get back to work. So finding that balance of when to work and being able to get everything done in a day for our family in addition to for our business, that it's difficult.
What's the best piece of advice you've received that has impacted your journey?
This was a hard one, but looking back, when I sold homes, initially sales to me didn't come naturally, and I felt like I was trying to be the way that I was trained. And I remember, do you know what I'm
Because
going
you're
to
a
say?
rule follower.
Right.
No, I don't remember, but you're too much of a rule follower sometimes.
Right. So my mentor, who has still remained a mentor in life and is one of
Shout
my
out
very
to
good
Marnie.
friends, Marnie Golden, I remember her saying to me, just be yourself. People will like you and people will love you if you are just yourself. And in sales, I kind of remember taking that to heart and kind of slowing down and just talking to people and having conversations with them and learning about what their wants are. I mean, in every single job that I've done since then, including working in my store, I don't feel like it's a job. I love connecting with the moms and the grandmas and even the dads that come into my store. The dads are far and few between, but when they do come in, I do love connecting and just being myself and being authentic to what I like and not selling out and choosing to create half a boy and half girl store just to make more money. So I think just in general through my career, I've always tried to remember to just remain being myself and being true to myself. And the people that are going to like me will like me, and the customers are going to like the things that that I choose, or they're not, but just remain being myself.
The reason
So thank you, Marnie Golden.
The reason she laughed was because I know that she hates thinking people don't like, that someone might not like her. That really bothers her. So that's why I looked at her crazy and she laughed. What's one piece of advice you'd offer aspiring entrepreneurs? And then a follow-up, what's one piece you'd offer to entrepreneurs who've already gotten their start?
One piece of advice. I didn't write that down. I don't remember that question. Okay, wait. Say that again. One piece of advice.
You'd offer to aspiring entrepreneurs. So somebody who wants to go start their own business.
Okay.
And then what would you offer to somebody who already has their business going?
Okay. To someone who's wanting to start their own business, I don't know. I would just say do your research. Look at the competition. Look at everything around you and just become the expert in your field. I think that always sets you apart, because I feel like there are people that are going to cut corners and just try to do things the easy way. I think that by becoming the expert and doing everything that you can and immersing yourself into whatever that business is that you're doing, that will always set your business apart. And someone that already has a business, the best advice to them, I think, is just stay positive and optimistic and true to what your business is. Don't feel like you need to veer, and I know you use this word a lot, that you need to pivot if it's not truly what you want to do with your business. Again, going back to what I would offer the advice to someone that is trying to start a business, I think just be true to what it is that you want to do. And even if people say that it's not going to work, if you in your heart of hearts believe in this product or believe in this business, I think you have to go for it and maintain what it is that, stay on your path and don't let naysayers get in your way.
I would like to just defend myself real quick.
Okay.
I don't think you should pivot just to pivot.
Right.
But I think you should
I
pivot
just
when
know
it's
you
warranted.
use that word a lot. So.
All right. What's one piece of technology you couldn't live your business life without?
Piece of technology or like an item?
Technology.
I mean, I would say my phone, because I can do anything and everything on my phone for my business.
That's the phone. The phone said hello.
That's my phone's dinging. I mean, it's nice. The technology that I have for my website, I can update it from my phone, fulfill orders from my phone, communicate with my team and my vendors from my phone. So.
What? Just to give people who might want to start a store, I thought you would have said something else, so
Okay.
I'll direct you that way. What about your POS? What's the?
Oh, Shopify.
Yeah.
So I use Shopify. I've used that since day one. There are other boutiques in the area that have come to me and ask what I use, and I'm more than happy to throw that out and tell them I think it's a great platform. Now, it does have its limitations, I would say, but I feel like Shopify is a great platform. It has wonderful reports. There is a lot of cool apps that you can add on to your website. So if anyone is needing help with setting up Shopify, I feel like I'm a pretty dang good expert now after 5 years. So let me know. Hit me up.
So if people don't know, Shopify is what you run it, but the key thing is that's also your website and everything. So like
Right, it integrates POS and website.
You couldn't
together.
run without Shopify.
No.
No, it's possible you could have done it other ways.
Right,
but
use the other platform, but yes,
Yeah.
I
So
think Shopify is great.
Shopify would have been my guess.
Right. Okay.
What's your time management hack?
Oh, this actually was your recommendation. Do you know what I'm going to say?
No.
Slack.
Oh, okay.
So I have a team of 5 girls that work in my store. For those that aren't familiar with Slack, it's an app. But I remember you even telling me once, you were like, you got 4,000 text messages this month. It's the communication back and forth of the girls working in the store. And every day I was starting over with, okay, this is what this person did yesterday, and here's what needs to be done, and then here's what the promotion is or whatever. And you tried to get me to use Slack for probably 2 years before I finally decided to do it. And it's amazing. It's such a great platform for communication with the team, and the girls love it. They feel like they walk into the store and everybody's in the know of what's been happening all week. I just think it also helps, create more of a team environment, because we're all able to communicate together, because girls don't ever work in the store together. It's always one person on their own. So that has been a huge time saver for me, and not receiving all of the text messages, and just being able to communicate better that way with our team. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. What's your secret for getting through the tough times or times of doubt?
You.
That better have been the answer.
I have a wonderfully optimistic, positive counterpart and I mean, I feel like you need that with having your own business and small business in general. There are ebbs and flows, and it's like that with any job, but having someone you can kind of vent to and have them bring you back to reality, I think that's something you need.
Final question. One person you want to acknowledge for their impact on your journey. Give them a shout out.
Can I do a couple people?
Yeah, I did a couple.
Okay. So I first would like to shout out my parents, because especially my dad, my parents worked very, very hard for their family. And I come from a family of 5. And my dad is a contractor. He is the type of person, why are you going to smile? Or why are you laughing about it? He's the type of person that just worked really hard. I mean, growing up, he was gone a lot because he was working a lot. And he taught my sisters and I to have a really good work ethic. And I feel like that's something that's hard to teach. But I feel like it was kind of taught by example of working hard and putting your best foot forward with any job that you're doing. Why are you smiling?
You know what would be real cool is if you did a commercial on TV where you thanked your dad for that stuff. So you don't know this, and I wish I could find it. But when Andrew's in high school, she was in a Meijer commercial for Father's Day, thanking her dad. And at the very end, she says, "Thanks, Dad." So that's why I was laughing.
You're laughing.
Yeah.
I was wondering all along, why are you laughing? I'm trying to be like...
I'm playing the high school commercial out. Sorry, go ahead.
So I want to thank my parents, and then ultimately you, obviously. I don't think I would have taken the leap to do it if it weren't for you. I wouldn't have maintained what I've been able to maintain if it weren't for you. And just, I mean, you're so positive and optimistic, and always bringing me back to staying positive and optimistic in difficult situations, and not even difficult. You know, every retail has slow months and better months, and even slow days and super busy days. And on the slower days, I'll say, oh, we wasn't very busy in the store today. And you're like, and then watch tomorrow, you're going to have like the best day ever. And then it happens. And I'm like, how did he know that that's what's going to happen? Like, it just is nice to have that positivity from you. And I'm glad that you pushed me and helped me decide to do this business.
Well, before this comes to Love Fest, I am naturally optimistic, and I don't know why I am that way, but I am thankful.
Yes.
But it was easy for me to push you in that direction and feed you that confidence because I knew you were right with the business, and I knew you would do a good job. So, like, it's not my job to, whether it's you or other people I talk to, push people in the wrong direction.
Right.
But I do think that I have a ability to take some of my optimism and when it's warranted and needed to inject that into other people to get them past that hurdle. So it really hasn't been that hard because I knew once you set your mind to it that it was going to work. The only thing I wish I could get you to do is like not stress over the little things. But I do think that the stressing over the little things is what has helped you be so successful because that works for you.
Right.
I can stress over certain things, but there's certain details that I'm comfortable.
You don't even worry about.
Right. Because I know everything will work itself out.
Right.
Like the whole sweating a store in Fort Wayne wanting to carry one of your brands. Like to me, if I was running the store,
you always say, "Who cares?"
Well,
Who cares?
So anybody out there, if you're doing a good job, there will be people who want to imitate. A lot of people are looking for quick ways to make money or be successful, and they see somebody doing it and they think they can copy it. I think that is a compliment that you're making it look easy. What you're doing and the success that you're having looks so easy that someone thinks they can just pick up and do it. They don't know the 2 a.m. mornings that you're in the living room folding stuff while I'm upstairs asleep. Like they don't know how much work it is, and they don't know really when it comes to your business, maybe not every business, how small the margins really are on boys' clothing.
Right.
Like this, even though you've done the amount of sales that you have, it's not a terribly profitable business. Like you're doing this because you love it, but people think it's easy to do that. So it's a compliment that you're doing something right. Secondly, I think that I've told you so many times that the imitation forces you to stay ahead of the curve.
No, that's true.
You've got to go out and you've got to be the innovative person if you want to succeed and find that next new brand. Mm-hmm. And then when they copy you on that brand, you found the next new brand over there, or you're making your own at that point. Mm-hmm. So the whole point to that is it's been easy to pick you up when you need it. And I know sometimes you just want to vent, and I try to just turn you optimistic right away, which is probably I just need to shut up and listen. But that's just not how I am. I just think that the more optimism I throw at you, eventually it's going to soak in.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for shouting me out, but it's been very easy. And obviously I'm very proud of what you've done. I brag about you all the time. Having you on the podcast is another show of that. So no more Love Fest. Hopefully people haven't turned us off yet. So the final thing is give everybody your social media rundown. Where can they find you? Instagram, website, all that stuff.
Yeah. If you have any little guys in your life or anyone you know with little boys, please feel free to share. If they're looking for cool style for boys, it's romanandleo.com. So it's our two oldest, Roman and Leo. Our Instagram handle is just Roman and Leo. So RomanAndLeo. I mean, I do a little on Facebook. I have a Twitter, but I probably haven't posted on it in about 4 years. Instagram primarily, and then our website. If you're local in Indiana, we are in Fishers. Actually, Justin can see my new space from his office, so we are very close to each other.
So before you go, swing by. We'll do a financial plan. We'll figure out how much you can afford to spend at the store, and then you can go shop.
And then you can go over. That's where we are.
All right. Well, I'll have show notes with all of those in there because that's what us podcast guys do. Show notes with all the links to that so you can find it a lot easier. But thank you for taking time on a late Thursday night to record this podcast. I'm excited that you are my second true guest. Third episode, but first real guest on the show. Desarte and I had a non-interview style episode. So thank you for joining me. Thanks for listening. Go follow Roman and Leo. Go shop your little hearts out. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks.